Right, welcome back to another video. Um, the keen-eyed among you can probably spot that I'm in the same clothes and the same stuff. Basically, did them as the collection and immediately moved on to these. So this is a back-to-back recording. Um, Depending on how I feel moving forward, may end up doing another row because what I'm going to be doing is just I'm doing them in one row now, and yeah, knock them out bit by bit. So starting off with Painkiller. Collector's edition. Um, I think this came out in 2013 was this print, but the game originally came out many years before that, I believe. 2004 maybe? Not entirely sure. But so Nordic games. It's very reminiscent to like Serious Sam, kind of Doom free kind of feel. You're fighting demons and stuff. It has a story mode. It's one of them things where it had story mode, PvP, and stuff like that. It had a ton of different modes. It's unfortunately not one I've finished yet, but it'll be one that I end up going back to and finishing up much later down the line. But one of my favorite series is up next, Pathfinder. So we have beginning with Pathfinder Kingmaker, the first Pathfinder game. Don't know if I can like move this. So I feel like I've moved the laptop. There we go. We'll do that. Right, Pathfinder Kingmaker. First Pathfinder game that came to consoles. Very unfortunate that both Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous had rough, rocky launches. But the more disappointing thing is the fact that something happened with licensing issues for this game. So they never fully ended up patching Kingmaker for the Xbox One. It has a major memory leak issue. So the further you get into your campaign, the worse the game runs. So unfortunately, that was never fixed. I was able to finish it, but you ran into tons of crashing towards the end, and it is really unfortunate because it's a very, very special game, and it probably could have done wonders if they nailed this. Maybe Wrath of the Righteous would have done even better on consoles. But moving on, Wrath of the Righteous, definitely the better game overall. I think they learned a lot of lessons making Kingmaker, and moving them over to Wrath of the Righteous showed just how far they've come. Because for me, I know this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. Uh, Wrath of the Righteous, I enjoy much more than Baldur's Gate 3. I prefer the more traditional CRPG take on it. The mythic classes as well for the game is just incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anything been done like that on a scale this big and it be so impactful from an RPG. If they can ever make that kind of system and then bring it over into like a Skyrim-esque RPG, I think that would like blow people's socks completely off. So moving on. And also, because I had a question from somebody before as to why I have them stacked up like so instead of having them like that, because it would be more space efficient. That is why you don't do that. Now, I'm not saying this was actually done through uh, delivery though. However, I think a few games I've not pointed that out. Some of the cases have cracked because what happens is when you keep stacking them on top of each other and more and more and more, obviously the bottom one has to then take the weight of all the rest of them. So I would heavily, heavily, heavily recommend not storing games in that manner, have them facing up like this, as much as it's probably more desirable to have them like that so that you can read the spine text and stuff. But yeah, just a little bit of help there for those among you who didn't know that. So Payday 2. I have a very love-hate relationship with Starbreeze. They make some good games, and then they also make some of the biggest like missteps imaginable. With Payday 2, for instance, having the whole, what was it, safe system on the PC, where it was really heavily leaning into like loot boxes and stuff. And then I think they gave that up after a while. But it was unfortunate that they heavily pursued that. And then the amount of DLC that this game has is absolutely crazy. And then a lot of people were hyped for Payday 3. And as you can see for there, that's already it's already a no-no for many people. Requires internet for a fucking Payday game. It's so bare bones. It it's not even funny. Like it's genuinely crazy how lacking this 1.0 version is. I don't know what it plays like now. And I'm gonna be 100% honest. I'm not sure I ever want to know how it plays. I think I've written off Payday as a series. It was an enjoyable game series, and it's one of them things where unless you make a stance, they're never gonna learn, and they'll just keep feeding you crap because they can get away with it. So, as they say, vote with your wallet. I probably won't be picking up any more Payday games if they ever make a Payday 4. But moving on, Peaky Blinders Mastermind, kind of tying into last episode's thing of TV shows that weirdly get games, and then on top of that, not only do they get games, they get given because like Narcos is a XCOM like very bizarre, and you have Peaky Blinders, and then it's like a puzzle game almost. They brand it as a puzzle adventure game. It, I haven't played it yet because I'm so hesitant that it's going to be so bad. But this is one that I got on like a deep sale as well. But it never like ceases to amaze me like how are you not just making like a Telltale game from Peaky Blinders? And the same with like Narcos. Like these very, very narrative rich stories from these TV shows would translate so well into like a Telltale game. But instead they give us them puzzle games and the XCOM games and just weird shit like that. However, this next game, Peter Jackson's King Kong, is is the way to do it. Um, they knew exactly what would suit the movie by adapting it into a video game, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's still crazy to think that this is one of the launch titles for the 360 because it's still to this day is fair, like it's obviously very washed out in its color palette when you're looking at it against games that release now. It's very, very gray, very dull in its colors, but it's still very atmospheric and something that doesn't get enough credit for in this game is that it's obviously a movie, so you expect a cinematic experience. There's no HUD at all. Everything is said through the character, like how many bullets you have left in your gun and stuff like that, and the characters around you pointing stuff out in the environment for you. So, considering that was a what 2006 7 game, 2005, Jesus Christ, 2005 game. It's crazy that we have games now that even struggle to breach that level of immersion. So, credit to Ubisoft back when they were a little bit more ambitious and diverse is probably the better word. So, yep. But moving on, one of the limited run, I don't know if this is a numbered release. Yeah. Number 15 for good old Team Xbox from Limited Run. Pentiment, Obsidian's, I guess, passion project. It's definitely like a very out of their wheelhouse kind of game. It's very artsy and it's different from what you would expect from Obsidian. They usually go for a standard RPG setting and stuff like that. This has kind of RPG elements, but it's more like a point and click adventure game almost. Um, I played the opening hour of it. I don't think it's for me. Um, the thing that was mainly pushing me forward is the writing from Obsidian, but the gameplay itself is just it's just not engaging enough for me. Um, and every moment I was playing it, it was bringing me back to like how dull the the Abbey section is in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 because they put a Abbey section in the very beginning of that game basically and it was just like ugh. So, yeah, maybe I'll go back to it because it might end up being something like a Disco Elysium where try to get a cat hair off my keyboard. Uh, might be like a Disco Elysium thing where I end up enjoying it by breaking through the wall, as it were. But moving on, a series that has returned. It's not released yet with its new title, but they've shown us gameplay of it. I played maybe this would have been years ago because this is a very like I've had this for so long. I didn't buy it at launch because I would have been a child. This is something where it's you bought it secondhand and stuff, and it's one that I just never got rid of, even when I sold my 360 and stuff back in the day when I was jumping between and selling stuff. But this is a steelbook comes with. Didn't even know that. What do you know? Back to back games. No, well, not back to back. Back to back videos, I should say. Where they give you a comic book, man. Kudos. Kudos. Didn't even know that was in there. Um, the game itself, I'm probably gonna try and go back to in the lead up to the new Perfect Dark, whatever they end up calling it. Um, just to see what the hype was about, because when I did play it, I didn't really care for it. Um, I didn't really enjoy it, but maybe it's because it's been because this would have been like what it's now 2025, so 2008 maybe is when I last tried the game. You know, my tastes have changed since then, so maybe I'd enjoy it now. As last time, as like last time, I should say. Gonna have to lean over and move stuff so I can move other stuff and keep the ball rolling. Right, moving on. Fantasy Star Universe. Um, a Sega game. So it was an exclusive. It wasn't. I should make sure that I'm saying that correctly. An Xbox exclusive. This is a game that was available on PS3 as well. Never played it. Um, it says online play requires a monthly fee and an internet connection. So I assume that even means Xbox Live, or were they actually maybe they had their own subscription fee for this game? Never played it. I think you can still play the entire game single player though, whatever its single player story component is. It's one I'll definitely look at. I mixed these games up with Star Ocean. That's what I was looking for, and then it clicked in my head that no, that's just got Star with it, and that's got Star. So never dipped my toe into that series. We'll have to give it a go at some point. But Phoenix Point from the creators of XCOM. So it's not Firaxis themselves. I believe it's one of them things that we see more and more common where original developers from the original team break off and make their own team. And then they've given us this, which is Phoenix Point. Very XCOM-esque, but it has, I'd say, because you have factions that you deal with and stuff, and depending on what you choose to do with them factions, impacts the way the story goes and what you have access to as well. But it also has in its combat, you can target like specific. Instead, it's weird because you can target specific things with XCOM, I believe, but nowhere near to the amount of precision that you can get with Phoenix Point. And this is heavily, heavily more RPG'd in numbers. Like everywhere you look when you're going through menus and stuff, it's just numbers. And it also, interestingly enough, has vehicles that you can control, which is really cool. They're called Chaos Engines, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh, didn't even realize they were up next. My favorite, should put these, there we go, that's better. My favorite two games of all time, probably. I'm sure people are sick of hearing me talk about it on Brandon's channel at every given opportunity, but Pillars of Eternity. This is the complete edition. Comes with the White March Part 1 and Part 2. So this is all of it. I believe it's all on disc as well. I don't believe it's one of them things where it has to prompt it. If it is, that will kill my soul. But one one hell of a IP. I'm so glad that Obsidian's, as much as I'd prefer the Pillars of Eternity 3, I'm so glad they've not had to abandon the IP and it's now morphed into Avowed instead. But this is something truly special. Definitely, if you enjoy the original Baldur's Gates and stuff like that, this will speak to you. And then they just knocked it out of the park with Deadfire. So it goes from being like a standard fantasy-esque RPG, and then they yank the roots up and they're like, hey man, wouldn't it be cool if you like became a pirate and you was able to explore all these like different islands on this archipelago and stuff like that? And just yeah, the scale as well of some of the moments in this game is unmatched. No game has ever matched it in the sense of scale. All right, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Strange that this is the one where they were like, yeah, man, we got to make a game of, because this is was what, it was either the second or the third movie in the franchise. Um, very strange. I think it's meant to be. I probably shouldn't say anything on it because it's been so long. I want to say it's a fight. It's like a fighting game. It's not like Mortal Kombat, I don't believe. I think there is a little bit more to it rather than just pitting it side by side. But I could be misremembering. It's been over north of 10 years. I've played it, probably even more. So can't remember, but I remember it being interesting and fun, and it was one that I ended up grabbing because it was one of them things where when they announced the closure, you're looking at like what games will probably end up going up in price. And obviously, I've not looked at all of them, and I haven't looked at that one either. But it was one of them that kind of sprung into my mind where I'm like, licensed property and stuff like that, movie tie-in. You see the Harry Potter game shoot up. You see Spider-Man shoot up and stuff. Maybe that will also shoot up. So it'll be interesting. I want to dive in and give that another go at some point. But another Beamdog HD remaster, and as you can see, good old finger. This That's the collector's edition with which came with this in it. They were very crap. That's something I will throw shade their way. They are crap collector's edition. Um, if I ever, I'm not going to go and grab that now, but if I ever do open that up, you'll see what I mean. It's very lacking. But the games themselves, however, are not. Um, Planescape Torment is meant to be a very, very good CRPG. Kind of takes a step back on the combat stuff. It's very, very text driven in comparison to like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that, much more. And then Icewind Dale is the complete like 180 of that. It's very, very combat driven. Um, so yeah. And the only one of the two I've played much of is Icewind Dale. Haven't finished either of them. They're ones that I'll end up finishing up in the next few years. Portal 2 up next. Yes, a Valve property, so you know it's damn good. And feel free to shit on me in the comments. Never played Portal. Haven't played Portal, haven't played Portal 2. This was one as well where it was like grab it before the store closure and stuff. Puzzle games aren't really my type of thing. They don't particularly interest me. But it's one of them things where like down the line I want to at least say that I've played it at some point, so I will boot it up and give it a go. But yeah, they just don't do anything for me. Right, a very bizarre series coming up. So we have Prey, and then Prey, what was this, 2016, I think was the reboot? Was it 2017? It was 2017 this came out. So yeah, the original Prey that came out, and this is one that I didn't end up playing. It's one that I've got very high up there to be played on the backlog, but I haven't got around to doing it yet. So from what I'm seeing on the back, it looks fairly reminiscent of something like Doom 3. They put a high concept mix of mind melting gravitational puzzles, beautiful graphics, and intense FPS combat. So a little bit of everything. But I'm 99% sure it is nothing like this. So one I haven't played but will definitely dive into. But this, oh boy, this is it. This is Arcane firing on all cylinders. Um, Holy shit, did I love this game? It melded all of like the things that I would want to see in a game like this. So it was like an immersive sim set in space, like untold levels of intrigue with like how the story evolves over time and stuff. Just nothing really like it. Has a really, really hard hitting morality choices as well. And just kind of surprised that this they don't really care about it. It feels not sure that we'll ever see another entry in the series. Do you know what this is? It's kind of sad having to show all these and talk about them because another series I've never really tried out is Prince of Persia. So another, I guess, slap on the wrist. Bad. Um, they just weren't things that I dived into. So this is Prince of Persia: Forgotten Sands, and that is, what was it, 2008 was this cell shaded um, Prince of Persia game. They never really called out to me before, but it's something that I do want to get done at some point. Um, Obviously, we know that Assassin's Creed 1 was originally a Prince of Persia game, and then it kind of branched off and did its own thing. And because of it garnering as much success as it did, the Prince of Persia series suffered because of it, and it's never really recovered. So, very unfortunate. Prison Break, even more. Not only is this like, what, the third, fourth, maybe more, or like TV show tie-in games, we never really see this level of tie-in game anymore, where it feels like it's had like serious effort put into the back of it. Um, One I haven't played, but I've seen people talk about on lists and stuff and show like snippets of gameplay, and it seems like it's doing its own thing, which is really cool, and it has meat to the game. And just peeling off a tiny sticker that was remained on it, which was bugging me. But yeah, it does its own thing, and there's another one. So we never really see that anymore, do we? We see stuff like we've seen with the Peaky Blinders game, the Narcos game, where there's hardly, I hate to say it, there's hardly any effort it feels put in compared to something like this. This feels like a proper game that has budget behind it, and we don't really get that anymore. But one I'll definitely be diving into. Project Cars series. We have, nope, that's not the right one. Project Cars 1. These are all Bandai published games, strangely enough, which I found weird. But can't get into them. I don't know what it is, the physics of the game. But this is only coming off of the fact that I've played Project Cars 1. That's the only one I've played. The other two I haven't played. Maybe they tinker with it, but I wouldn't know. They're just they're very they feel like games that you have to play on a wheel more so than a controller, really. And because of that, it's something where it's like I can't really enjoy that. Doesn't feel right. Project Gotham Racing 4 for the Xbox. This was a Bizarre Creations game. Um, I think this was the last one they made of Project Gotham Racing. I don't think they made another game in the series. I think they kind of stopped supporting it and just moved on to Forza. And it's one that has slipped me by. I haven't had a chance to jump into it yet, so I don't know how it holds up. But it doesn't seem to have, because usually like they list on the back here the car manufacturers. There aren't really all that many huge high profile ones. They're fairly kind of lower end ones like Celine, Lotus, and stuff like that, which maybe that's also why maybe it had a really bad car roster in comparison to the other ones around it. Right, we have a few duds coming up, I'm afraid, so bear with me. Project High Rise, one that was also picked up in a Amazon Prime Day sale. I don't mind strategy games and stuff. Didn't really click with it. Didn't really care for the building and stuff like that in that game. Ah, this isn't a dub though. Right, Pure. Guilty pleasure game. Um, this has like crazy amounts of customization for what it is. And on top of that, the thing that baffles me the most about it, from top to bottom, it's a Disney published game. Like what on earth was going on there? But yes, an ATV game and just like it says, over 65,000 possible combinations. A lot of it's probably the same, but it has like tricks and stuff. So you have, let me show you on the back. That's the kind of stuff that you can perform in the game, grabbing hold of the thing, you're building up a points multiplier that builds up a boost meter and stuff. Really, really cool racer. The track layouts as well were really, really interesting. Lots of like massive ramps and stuff like that. So, yeah. Weird game here. So we see this less and less now, and this was kind of the same thing as well. You don't see anybody really going toe to toe with people who own the big licenses to stuff like, say, FIFA, Madden, and stuff like that. On the 360, we had a few like people taking a crack at it, like Ubisoft entering and being like, "Yeah, we'll make our own football game." Steven Gerrard can be on the front cover, and as you can clearly see, he's not in his Liverpool kit. they couldn't they couldn't get him. I think a lot of this was they were internationals, is what it was, because I think they could easily uh negotiate for international players because that's what it says on the back. It's choose from 17 top international teams or three legendary teams. So they only got licenses for three teams. No idea who they are. I've never booted this up. It was one of the when I was doing the £50 bulk buys on Music Magpie and stuff. This was going for like 50 pence. So it's probably bad, but I don't know. Maybe somebody's played it and has fond memories of playing it in their childhood. Right. Psychonauts 2, Motherload Edition. Really glad that this got a physical on Xbox. Um, really wish stuff like Ghostwire Tokyo would get a physical. This was printed by I Am 8-bit, I believe. This is coming from a time, and I say a time, does it not list it? Yeah, 2022. 2022, this got printed. So you're talking less than 3 years ago, and Xbox had no interest in self-printing their own first-party games and stuff like that, or who would fall under their game studios catalog. And they still don't really. They've partnered with Limited Run, they've said, and they've kind of done a few. I'm just wait like they need to get Ghostwire Tokyo, a physical print. But yeah, as for Psychonauts 2, it's one I've not really dove into. I never played the first game. And I played maybe 2 hours of Psychonauts 2. We'll definitely jump back into it at some point. It's enjoyable, but it's not going to be something that is going to end up being in like a. It will probably end up being like a 7 out of 10 game for me. I can just feel that. However, what isn't? This is a 9 out of 10 if I was to give it a rating. Quantum Break, one of them rare cases where Xbox actually delivered on an exclusive, and it's really, really unfortunate that for one, it was tied to the Xbox ecosystem because it meant it didn't sell very well, which hurt Remedy. And for two, it's not available everywhere. Like, this needs to be on PlayStation, man. Like, I've always been like an open borders kind of person. The way I look at games now is I understand they need to make money. I think the best way of doing that is having partial exclusivity. So unless it's a truly, like, say, Santa Monica for PlayStation, if you want to keep that tied down permanently exclusive, yeah, that's fine. But anytime you partner with a party that you don't own, lock it down for a year and then send it everywhere else. Like games are way too expensive, and this is why like Remedy really suffered with this. So expensive to make this game, so much budget to make this game, and they really didn't reap the rewards with it. And not only did they not reap the rewards, nobody really touched the game because it's on Xbox One. people didn't really like jump in and like really fall in love with Remedy until like Control and stuff, and they were knocking out of the park with gameplay and story and just weird, crazy shit all the way back. Quantum Break, which was what, 2016? Yep, 2016. Yeah, can't speak highly enough about this. Really, really love the game. Another one of 100% as well. So big up Remedy. Right, The Quarry, a super massive title. We don't really get, to my knowledge, I don't think we've had very many physical prints of supermassive games on Xbox. So, yeah. Maybe I'm completely wrong about it. I never see them for sale, but that might be just be they get snapped up. But I digress. Haven't played this one. I have heard, however, that it's one of the better ones from Supermassive. I know they've been kind of hit or miss, and for me, the Dark Pictures games are kind of hit or miss as well. Just wish they weren't so buggy for a co-op experience. If you're gonna have a co-op experience, make sure it works. Runs like shit on Xbox. I don't know if it runs badly on PlayStation, but it is terrible on Xbox. But moving on, Race Driver Grid, another one I haven't been able to dive into. Um, to my knowledge, I don't think I've jumped into it. But I like the Grid series. I did Grid Legends, and I think I've begun because this is Race Driver Grid. I think it was just called Grid, I believe, on Xbox One. And I think I did half of a career through that, and I do love the Grid series. I think it's very, very underrated. So I'll be interested to jump into that when the time comes. However, another underrated series, debatably so, Rage. And speaking about like sequels, like thinking of all the IPs Bethesda has underneath their umbrella, and they greenlight a Rage sequel. So we had Rage 1, which was from the creators of Doom and Quake, as it says. And this was id taking a stab at doing what they know works with first person combat and then like dabbling in an RPG. It's kind of like Borderlands, but no, like much less toilet humor and stuff like that, and trying to take itself a little bit. It's like Borderlands meets Mad Max would probably be the best way of like bridging that. And yeah, it kind of came out. I remember because this was the game that they showed on Breaking Bad when in Jesse Pinkman's house, he has it playing on in the background and stuff, and it's kind of one of them things where it came out and didn't really do all that well, and that's why it's kind of surprising because they must have put so much money into that marketing, and then you had Rage 2 that came out, and this felt like it was grabbing a lot of inspiration from Doom 2016 in parts of its DNA, but it's just nothing happens in this game. It's very weird. Like it builds up this story and stuff, and then it just ends. It's a very, very, if you're just doing the story and stuff, it's a very short game. You can probably clear it in under like 8 hours, I believe. Whew. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed Rage 1 a lot more. But I didn't hate Rage 2, is why I was saying like a series I love. So I enjoy the games. Ooh, this one. Raid World War Two. Starbreeze, creators of Payday 2, as it says on the cover. This game is arse. Um, really, really just bounced off this. It's again adding to the ammunition as to why I just don't. Whenever I hear a Starbreeze game anymore, I just kind of zone it out. Um, the only saving grace really is the fact that as John Cleese in the game doing some live action acting. Other than that, Yeah, complete dud of a game, in my opinion. Thankfully, got it very, very cheap, but terrible game. Unlike this, absolute masterpiece, as I'm sure many, many, many people already know. Red Dead Redemption 2. It's the thing like what rattles in my brain with Rockstar is how much of a masterpiece would this have been if they pushed games out sooner rather than polishing, polishing, polishing kind of thing. How much of a difference would that have made if you decided to say kick it out maybe a year, 2 years earlier, and maybe not do as much detail and stuff? Would it have been within touching distance as to what it is now, or is it really that crucial that they get every single minute detail down to a T? Because now that they're doing that, you're talking what? GTA 5 was 2013 when it first came out. This is a 2018 release. That is a 5 year gap. You're looking at what? GTA 6 now coming out. Debatably, it could come out this year, 2025, but it's probably more realistic that it's going to be a 2026. These gaps are getting bigger and bigger between releases. Are we talking once GTA 6 comes out, is it going to be what? Over a 10-year wait for a Rockstar game? Because that is kind of crazy. But back to Red Dead 2 of itself. Absolute masterpiece from top to bottom. Finished it, of course. One I would like to go back on 100%, but just it's the thing of like Rockstar Online modes and tying that into like the trophy and achievement lists. It's just I don't care for it at all. It's just not for me. It feels very tacked on, and it's such a contrasting difference from the quality of the single player to the multiplayer, regardless how well it's made. You can never have that level of detail, immersion, and quality transferred over to the multiplayer. Red Faction as a series. So Volition, their little side spin-off series. I don't think we'll be seeing another Red Faction game for a very long time. I don't know if Volition even exists anymore. I know they kind of got reshuffled and they're helping with Borderlands, I believe now. I don't know how that works because the I think Gearbox got sold. So I don't know if Volition got absorbed into them or if Volition still exists as a studio. Who knows? But Red Faction Gorilla, haven't played too much of this. Um, maybe less than 4 hours. It's got great destruction and stuff like that, but the driving force of the story just didn't do anything for me. Played a little bit more of this, probably about 5 hours of Armageddon, and probably probably blasphemous of me to say, I actually enjoyed it more than Gorilla. Actually preferred it. It just felt kind of like a Gears of War light almost. You're fighting like aliens and bugs and stuff. It's a lot more direct in its approach to story, very linear and stuff. And I'm always an advocate for linear story. I think opening up stories, it's so hard to make it more compelling when you have an open world kind of esque take on it. So yeah, haven't finished either of them, but I believe this is installed as well at the moment. So it'll be one that I'm probably end up finishing fairly soon. Right, the final two games. Kind of a hint as to what you can expect in the next episode, because boy oh boy, is there a lot of Resident Evil games. So this was a little bit harder to track down on Xbox for me in the UK. You don't really see the Origins collection float around all that much. Um, so that's Resident Evil 1 remake from way back when, whenever that was, and Resident Evil 0. Really, I really wish I could enjoy tank-based games. It's so difficult for me to enjoy them. Definitely gonna give it a go though, now that I've broken through that wall a little bit with Silent Hill 2, which I did last year. Maybe I can push through and get this done. But this, I need to like give this a before I say something stupid. I think it's my favorite Resident Evil of all time. I really love Resident Evil 7. I love Village. I love Resident Evil 4's remake. Resident Evil 3 remake's good. I enjoy Resident Evil 6 and 5. I enjoy. Ooh, see, Revelations 2 was so fun, though, as well. But no. Resident Evil 2, I think I can safely say, as like an overall package from top to bottom, it is a masterpiece. And I know for those that really loved the original Resident Evil 2, I know it cut certain aspects. And that probably does suck. I can kind of skate by it, un unhurt by that change because I didn't play the original. But I don't know, this just felt so streamlined and everything tied up perfectly. The pacing was so good. I think if they actually stretched it out and included even more things, it could have been a little bit damaging, I think, because it ends up running you like 8 hours, maybe 7, 8 hours on average to finish one of their stories. I did both Leon and Claire's, I believe, A sections or whatever they call it. Didn't finish the 100% for it. Has a DLC like tagged on set of achievements, and they're some of the most difficult. You have a in the gas station at the beginning of the game. There's like a challenge mode where you have to survive a certain number of waves in there. Apparently, it's one of like the hardest things ever. It's very, very brutal and difficult. But there you go. That's another again the finger. Right, that's another shelf done, and I can safely say I'm not going to be doing another one today, so I should be in a different set of clothing when you next see me. I'll probably end up aiming to just do them in batches of two moving forward, but so one per episode, but just do like back-to-back recordings, and then that should be yeah, two more recordings worth, and we'll have the whole collection mapped out and can get to some more spicy stuff down the line. But thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoyed. Definitely check out Brandon's channel, Unnecessary Rambling, if you've stumbled upon me before getting to him, as fairly frequent over there, and we do a lot more of a wider variety of videos over there. Keep your eyes peeled as well, because we'll be doing live streams on his channel this year. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.